to go ahead and remove the lug nuts and then remove the wheel. Our particular wheel has custom lug nuts, so we're going to use our locking tool to remove these here. Once the lug nuts are removed, go ahead and grab the wheel, set it aside. Using a 22mm wrench and a 13mm wrench, we're going to use the 13 to hold the inner tie rod. Use the 22mm to go ahead and loosen our jam nut right here. Using an 18mm socket, we're going to go ahead and loosen and remove the outer tie rod and nut. We're now going to use a hammer and strike the knuckle itself to pop that ball joint out. Make sure you're wearing safety glasses when doing this job. Now what we're going to do is unthread the outer tie rod from the inner tie rod. You want to count the complete revolutions, how many it takes to come off of the inner tie rod, so when we install the new one, we can install it the same amount of revolutions. "19 turns. We're going to go ahead and use our 22mm socket, and we're going to remove that nut. Using a 22mm socket and your 13mm wrench holding the inner tie rod, let's remove the tie rod nut. Now we're going to remove the inner tie rod boot or bellows. In the back section there is a metal clamp. We're going to use our long punch to get to the edge of the band clamp here, and we're going to take that right off. This clamp is not reusable. And I go in with our pliers and remove that clamp, toss that out. Let's go ahead and grab your boot, pop that off the rack. All right, so we put some lube on the shaft to help get this boot out. There we go. Let's pop it back into shape. And now we have our inner tie rod here exposed. Let's go ahead and remove that. Let's go ahead and install our inner tie rod tool here. All right, we're just going to tighten this up. We'll install our ratchet here. And we'll go ahead and try and loosen this inner tie rod. With the inner tie rod loose, let's go ahead and loosen the tool. We'll remove the tool and unthread the inner tie rod. We had popped off the inner ring off of our OEM tie rod. We're going to pop it into place on this one here. We did apply some additional grease on the inside of the joint. Let's go ahead and thread this in. Let's go ahead and install our tool here. I'm going to go ahead and torque the inner tie rod to 61 foot-pounds. Going to remove the tool. Take your Bellows boot, slide that on. push it down a little bit further than it needs to go. We'll work that onto the rack itself. Now on the inside of the Bellows boot, I'm going to go ahead and use a zip tie here. I'm going to go ahead and loop this around. Put that in a position. We're going to snug that down. Install our jam nut. We're going to spin that on probably about halfway. Install your outer tie rod, counting the same revolutions on as it did to take off, which was 19. And go ahead and rotate our knuckle around. Get that installed. Put our jam nut on the top, or our lock nut. Let's go ahead and snug that down. Let's get and torque this down to 39 foot-pounds. Let's go ahead and tighten down our jam nut. When we tighten this down, the tie rod is going to want to rotate. So what we're going to do is we're going to tighten this jam nut down, snug that. Once that's tight, I'm just going to use a pair of pliers, grab that, and just adjust the ball joint so it is level. Once this is completed, you now want to go ahead and bring it down to a local shop and have an alignment performed. So now go ahead and get our wheel installed. We'll go ahead and get our lug nuts started by hand. Once we get all these installed, we'll go ahead and snug them down. Let's get and torque the lug nuts down to 100 foot-pounds.